And we're back. Cornhusker Connection back on the airwaves after a bit of a hiatus. Of course, joined here with Brooke Byrne and Tyler Sprinkle. Fellas, how's it going? We're back.
Better than ever, baby. Come on.
Ready for this upcoming year of heartbreak.
I got a feeling it won't be so much heartbreak, but we'll certainly get there. And I got some crazy takes up my sleeve, but
Imagine
bit of
that. Imagine.
yeah, I know. Can you imagine? Bit of a hiatus. So as far as when we kind of went on our hiatus with football season, I'm like, oh, we won't have much to talk about. It won't be that big of a deal. And there's like 8 or 9 times I'm like, damn, this would have been a good episode for it. But first thing that comes to mind, Nebraska ball had a good season. I was very much not used to seeing that. So first things first, Brooke, how does this team rank compared to some of the other Nebraska ball teams that you've gotten to see? Since you're the ball expert here.
Um, Pretty good team, honestly. Anytime you have a tournament team, I mean that's all you can ask for as the only Power Five school that hasn't won a tournament game, I guess. Um, Texas A&M was just a tough matchup. They were way more athletic than us and killed us on the boards. And I mean, not that Nebraska always plays great defense when whatever their sixth or seventh man comes out and shoots like 70% from three as a career like 28% shooter. That's never a recipe for success. So overall, good year. Bad tournament showing, but from the recruiting news that I've heard, the guys we've gotten, I think we're going to be even better next year. So
So is this the best Nebraska basketball team that you've seen?
mm, I would say second to that 2014 team that had to play Baylor in the first round.
And also, I was curious about this. So Fred Hoiberg, he seems like he's kind of killing it. Seems like he's a fan favorite here. Seems like he's built something out of nothing. How long is he gonna be the coach at Nebraska? Is there a point where
See,
he's gonna win himself out of here?
that's the thing I don't know. He took the Iowa State job because that's where he played. He took the Nebraska job because his grandpa coached here and his family has Nebraska ties. Obviously, we're gonna see him stay till whenever Sam Hoiberg graduates, which is at least 2 more years. But hopefully, it's a lot longer than that. Hopefully, I mean, with the conference realignments, that Nebraska is a good enough job going forward that we can retain him.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It seems like everything's going. I mean, it seems like there's a lot being invested in the Nebraska basketball program, and it but it's tough because Nebraska's never been like a premier basketball brand by any stretch of the imagination. So you would think that if any coach is going to come in here, have a lot of success, like it looks like Hoiberg's about to have, he would graduate here pretty quickly to another school. But especially with the dynamic of the Big Ten and the SEC kind of splittering off from everyone else, it kind of feels like Nebraska's just a fine spot to be at.
Yeah, he did. I mean, this was his first truly good year. He had some injuries last year, which they ended up being about 500, but his first 2 years were really rough, and I think that's probably why he's not getting a lot of phone calls or attention. But I think if he has one or two more tournament caliber years, some people will start calling and making offers on him, I'm sure.
How tired are you of being a fan of a college basketball team that's not won a single tournament game in the history of ever?
Mm, I mean, as much fun as, losing every year is, I'm
Yeah, because I'm
not
not
super
even a
excited
huge
about it.
basketball fan, and I fucking hate it. This is awful. Because
Um,
it's so silly, especially because I heard Kansas State fans chirping. Oh, well, Nebraska beat Kansas State, so what are we?
exactly. And it's the same thing as the Creighton fans. So in Creighton's best year ever, Nebraska beat them by double digits on their home floor. So I mean, good for you, but Nebraska was the better team last year because they beat you by double digits on the road.
Yeah, yeah, I think this was the first time because typically I don't get a whole lot of my Twitter feed's pretty pro Nebraska, so I don't get a whole lot of the Creighton fans. But now that Nebraska's finding some success and winning some games, I'm seeing a lot of them. I see why there's. I've always defended the Jayskers, especially growing up in Omaha. I went to Creighton basketball games, of course, loved Nebraska football. So I've always defended the Jaysker, but I get it. I get the animosity. I
I
get it.
I don't. Well, I mean, obviously, like we're different because we grew up in Omaha, and like Kyrie Thomas, Justin Patton are all guys that like we crossed paths with growing up and played different sports against. And like obviously, it's hard to root against the Omaha guys, but um, I don't. It's just crazy to me that you root so hard against a team in the winter that you root for in the fall.
That's
And
true.
one
That's a good way to
one of
put
my
it.
friends who's not like a Nebraska sports fan even said, from like an outsider's perspective, it's a crazy thing. It's the only state in the country that has something similar to that.
That's a really good way to put it because I've never like rooted against Nebraska basketball. I guess like I probably would have pulled for Creighton head to head growing up, but I would
Sure,
certainly wouldn't root
but
against the goodwill. And I have seen that, which is that's a I see that.
there are Creighton basketball fans that like go out of their way to just be haters, and that is the craziest part to me. It's like you obviously root for that team in the fall, and then like you said, head to head, if you like Creighton more, I can respect that. But it's like don't be a fan of Nebraska in the fall then if you're going to talk so crazy about them in the winter. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I've asked you this off camera, but I think it's an interesting question because like you said, you grew up in Omaha. You know how much the city rallies around its teams. When Creighton was knocking on the door of a Final Four the year before this year, were you rooting for them, or were you hoping that they'd slip up?
I was rooting for them. I think. I mean, once they got that far, um, I don't know. I was pretty neutral about it. Obviously, more so for like my friends who are Creighton fans. Shout out guest star Luke Doyle, who was going to be at the Final Four that year. I think that's why I found myself rooting for Creighton. Um, Obviously, there are some people that just make me never want to see Creighton win again, but I don't know. I don't have it in me to hate Creighton. Like I said, I grew up in the Omaha area. Um, I root for all Omaha sports teams. You'll catch me at UNO basketball games too. So
Tyler, you're in the same boat.
Yeah, it always it doesn't make sense to me how people act toward Creighton and Nebraska. Um, the only way I can kind of explain it is maybe they're just looking for some kind of rivalry to get their juices flowing, and that's the one that they choose. Um, I think they both can coexist, but a lot of people don't seem to think that, so they choose
it's just
sides.
weird. It's just a weird rivalry.
And that's a good point because it's being so entrenched in Nebraska Twitter. It's a crazy place. It seems like we're rivals with everybody. But I could imagine a world where Creighton doesn't get to have that just because the Big East is such a different place than the Big Ten. Is that something? Do they not have
I
friends?
think I think you're onto something there, and I think Creighton fans are so delusional, especially on like Twitter and social media in general, where it's like, yes, they did have the Elite Eight run and they were very close to a Final Four, but that was what the second or third time ever they've made it to the Sweet 16. So, I mean that 1 year was their shot, and they got to the Elite Eight. Good for them. That was a great year, but Nebraska was better than them that year. So
And some folks are calling it a Mickey Mouse run. I'm not
it
saying that,
was
but
it
I've
was
I've
a
heard rumblings.
it was an easier path, but like you can only play the path that's put in front of you. So I mean, again, I'm not trying to take away from what they did, but um, let's not
I
get it
do,
twisted. They're not some powerhouse that wins every year.
yeah, I do also think that there's something to say about there's no since Creighton's in the Big East, there's no teams close to us really.
Yeah.
So I think they just latch on to Nebraska and like, oh, those are the guys that we always want to beat every year.
Yeah, I could see that.
But
I'm learning a lot. We're learning a lot about the psyche of Blue Jay fans here. This
yeah,
is a good case study.
It's an interesting thing. Like, and if you're like not from Nebraska, you probably have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. But it would be the same as if we lived in Oklahoma and I was an Oklahoma State basketball fan and an Oklahoma football fan. Like, just kind of weird.
Weird stuff. So as far as the Nebraska basketball season, a couple of crazy wins. One against Purdue that shut down that Canadian fuck in Zach Edey. Sorry for the language, but he's a foreigner. So, has there ever been better moments as a Nebraska basketball fan? Because maybe this team isn't as good as the 2014 team, but did that team have any like great moments like this team did?
The no sit Sunday they had where they beat Frank Kaminsky in number 9 Wisconsin. That's probably number 1 in my eyes because that was just such a fun day. But I think it's like a 1A, 1B. Beating number 1 Purdue by 16 at home is pretty fucking special.
and also beating Wisconsin this year as well.
Yeah, when they were number 6, and then
Yeah,
they fucking spiraled after they lost to us, and it didn't look as good, but
It was fun at the time.
it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
They were down 20 something at half or like 16.
Would you rather Nebraska win a men's basketball tournament in March, or would you rather Nebraska football win the Gator Bowl this year?
Just one singular March Madness game?
Yeah.
That for sure. I mean, fuck the Gator Bowl, honestly. That's just the God's honest truth. I don't give a shit about the Gator Bowl.
I don't know, man. We've been talking on here so much about how we just want to go back to a bowl game.
Again, if we got to one, I'd be happy. But at that point, if we're in the fucking Gator Bowl, like, give me a break.
Yeah,
We could
it's
lose that game 42-7. And I don't think I would lose sleep over it.
okay, let's say that exactly happens. Nebraska wins the March Madness game this year. And then Nebraska. Well, I guess it's different because if we were in the Gator Bowl the year after this year, it'd be bad. Um, but how much does it weigh that Nebraska's never won a March Madness game? Like if they had just one, is that still the same answer, or are you just trying to get that
I
monkey off
think
your back?
so. I think it's the same answer for me because bowl games, like now with like the football playoff expanding to 12 teams, are going to be so irrelevant, especially with opt outs. Like you saw Florida State have 40 some kids opt out of a bowl game where it's like that's not even who their team was all year. So unless you're in like a meaningful bowl game, I don't really care who wins or loses at that point. The tax slayer, guaranteed rate, tire bowl, whatever. That I don't know. Maybe I'm the odd man out in that thinking, but
Would you rather Nebraska make the Sweet 16 or make the college football playoff and then get blown out round one on a 9-3 schedule? Like they just sneak in, they get like a Big Ten bump.
I don't. I think you're underestimating how much I love Nebraska hoops. So again,
Well,
I'm the
this is,
wrong
I
one
mean,
to fucking
well, there's a reason I'm directing these questions at you because I feel like you're the.
Sweet 16 for sure. I mean, if you said get into the college football playoff and we don't know the final result, but it's close or it's interesting, I would take that. But if we're gonna get routed, then I'd rather go to the Sweet 16.
That's all the what would you rather questions I had. I have a couple of good coaching ones that we'll get into later, but pivoting the other singular moment that I was like, damn, I wish we could hop on a pod with the boys is Trev Alberts leaving Nebraska, and I feel much different about it now than I did that day. But that day was felt with so much anger and heartbreak. Can you guys kind of run me through what that week or that day, that morning was like for you as the news started to roll in?
Go ahead, Tim.
It hurt, and it's not just because Trev, right? Like 80s are a dime a dozen most of the time. Some of them can be really impactful. A lot of them are just kind of around for the most part. But the reason why it hurt so bad is because it felt like Nebraska was starting to become a stepping stone program again, and that hurt a little bit because you want them to be the powerhouse that they were in the past, and it's a lot harder to do that, especially when people are just using you for other opportunities. Um, I'm not so sure that I don't still feel that way a little bit, or at least I'm a little worried about it. But things are starting to look up.
I think I agree with what Tyler said. I feel like why everybody was so upset was, like he said, it felt like we were a stepping stone for Trev when, I mean, he was Mr. Nebraska, an All American linebacker in the 90s. And um, for me, why it hurt so much was, man, that guy was good at hiring people, brought in Matt Rule, um, he let Hoiberg, gave him another chance after his weak showing. I don't remember if he hired Will Bolt. I think he did, the baseball coach.
I thought he was already here.
Maybe he was. I don't remember. That's like a murky timeline in my mind. I don't remember. But either way, the hiring of Matt Rule ended up being a slam dunk in my mind, which I was not very happy about at the time, but I'd run through a brick wall for that guy. Um, but if you know Trev at all, he's kind of a career climber where he wants to be in the best spot for an AD and be at the forefront of college football and athletics in general. So um, it kind of felt like that move was coming since he came from UNO and did good things there and took the step up to UNL. I don't know. It sucks for us, but I think it was the right move for Trev.
An-
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
Another thing for me is if this would have happened, let's say 4 years ago, where he leaves to A&M, I can wrap my head around it because you're going to the ACC or the SEC, right? Like that was the football conference to be in, or not even football, just sports conference to be in. But now you're seeing the Big Ten start to level out a little bit more, where the SEC is still clearly above the Big Ten, but it's getting closer. So the fact that that's starting to go on and he still decided to hop ship to the SEC was tough for sure.
Yeah, it was. I felt very icky at the time. It ruined the whole outlook. That I felt that was really coming about, and there was a lot of murkiness about why this was happening. There's a lot of weird, like sideline conversations about the Board of Regents and how sketchy things were there. But I think what it kind of came down to is that hurt is that he is a Husker, and I mean you talked about him being a career climber. I thought so too, and I thought like Nebraska. Like, I thought he was born to be the Nebraska athletic director. I thought that was the pinnacle for him, especially the way that he took charge. Um, what I'll miss about him, and probably the only good thing I'll say about him moving forward, is that he did care a lot about winning. He mentioned that he gave Fred Hoiberg another chance. He also put his feet to the fire a little bit. Renegotiated his contract. Scott Frost immediately took a pay cut. Then he got rid of him very, very early on in that season, and could have saved some money if he had just held on a couple more weeks. Knew the product wasn't enough, and really prioritized winning throughout the program. So that's fine and dandy. But it hurts a little bit more coming from a born and bred Husker. I mean, Ted Carter leaving for Ohio State, it is what it is. Ben Sass being I think he left to be the president of Florida or was in conversation. Yeah, who cares? But this guy gets it, and it felt like, if you have the vision that he does, he sees Nebraska in the best possible light. So for him to, flake for Texas A&M, which I'm maybe somebody can talk me into it. I don't think it's that much better of a job to where it's worth pissing on your entire legacy for.
I think they're kind of like us, where they're almost a sleeping giant. Where, um, like you said, SEC. If their football team comes back to prominence, like I think they will with Elko. They have a chance to be really special the next 5-10 years.
And they have a lot of money.
That's the other thing is they
Like,
have, I think, probably 10 times the budget Nebraska does.
yeah, and Nebraska has a lot of money, but they have a lot of money.
That oil money is no joke down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, let's say all that is true. I mean, do you think people in College Station are going to care that much compared to if he had done those same things? I mean,
Probably not.
has the football program back, in its most exciting time in years before we knew what a disaster Scott Frost would be. He was heading this brand new stadium renovation that was going to be his whole legacy, which in hindsight I think kind of sucked. Knowing what they're talking about
And
now, but he had everything in front of him. Like I don't know if it's that much better to shit on all of that.
and I did hear rumblings of that stadium thing kind of was the center of his beef with the Board of Regents. So when you're not seeing eye to eye on like big moves like that, I think that probably was like the straw that broke the camel's back and like pushed him out the door. Because I mean, he has a vision of what he wants, and you know, to do crazy things with the Nebraska athletic department, and if they weren't, aligning with what the Board of Regents wanted, then and Texas A&M comes calling, we're like, hey, we have a ton more money, and we'll back you 100%. I think that's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, and objectively, that stadium renovation wasn't anything that was really needed per se. Like there are a bunch of other areas in that stadium that need to be reworked before we start taking out seats.
It's a very old stadium.
Yeah, and you guys spend more time in Memorial Stadium than I do, but the more I learned, and I was listening to Sean Callahan talk about it, that whole idea feels insane to chop off a quarter of the stadium for two full football seasons, especially like can you imagine like Dylan Raiola is everything that we want him to be, and we're at 65% capacity with a giant hole in our stadium for his sophomore and junior seasons? Like that would suck sticks. And also probably price out, the cheapest part of the stadium that has the more grittier fans who are just looking to get in the door. Those fans are the best.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try to squeeze the dimes, when they're talking now about the seat backs in the east and west sides, that seems like a much more appropriate place to delve in. And the South Stadium needs upgrades for sure,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need a full, reconstruction. So yeah, I mean that was a dumb idea. Fuck you, Trev.
Yeah. In hindsight, that move would have made, every Nebraska game way more expensive to get into.
Yeah,
And like you
absolutely.
said, it would, the families who really can't afford those, like you said, the grittier ones are, yeah, that would have, because I mean, we sell out every game as it is. And like you said, if we get better and we start winning games, like ticket prices are going to go way up. So knocking out a big chunk of the stadium might have been just a backwards move on Trev's behalf.
So just to recap, I guess he kind of like finished the Go Big project with all those new facilities. He didn't start that. Let's not get that, not mix those two timelines. That was Bill Moose, who shout out Bill Moose. So he didn't get anything done with the stadium that he wanted to. In fact, the whole Board of Regents sounds like that they just laughed in his stupid, ugly face throughout the whole process. He hired Matt Rule. That was a win. He didn't hire the basketball coach. I'll look this up. I don't think he hired the baseball coach. He
I
obviously didn't
don't,
hire John
yeah,
Cook. Everything
but
that's great about Nebraska was already great before him, and anything else has nothing to do with him. Um,
do you know what
that
year he
win.
took over?
Let me look that up because now it's bothering me. It's
It's very close. Either the baseball coach was just before him or that was like his first thing he did. I can't remember. Will Bolt, shout out to regional qualifiers, Will Bolt and the Husker baseball team. Lost to
It's fun to watch.
the best 3 seed ever. Might win it all. How
no
fun was
kidding,
that?
dude. What a juggernaut Florida turned out to
I
be.
mean, it felt like two horrible losses, but now seeing what they did to Clemson, I'm like, all right, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
Okay, so Will Bolt returned to his alma mater as former athletic director Bill Moose named Bolt the 24th head
Okay.
coach 2019. So shout out Bill Moose. Everything that Trev Alberts tried to ruin, Bill Moose, you know, he did. So shout out Bill.
Shout out, shout out.
And also everything that I hear from Dannon, the new athletic director,
I
it
love him.
also it sounds like he's the guy because the more I learned about Trev. Now, granted, it's coming from a very jaded, slanted point of view. I never want to find anything good out about him again. It also sounds like he was kind of turning his nose up at NAL. He wasn't very involved in the collective and wasn't, a champion for that. But Dannon sounds like the exact opposite. He sounds like exact like this is where we're gonna have the best opportunity. Just in the same way that we're probably talking about him, Trev Alberts going to Texas A&M because of all the money he's gonna have access to. Dannon's probably having those same conversations. Where it's like, I can't believe they're letting me do this, or I can't believe they have these resources. Holy smokes! Did you just see those facilities that they just put up? And now I'm the athletic director of that program. Holy smokes! It's such a breath of fresh air.
He seems so excited to be here, and he's on the same page with all the major sports coaches. Extended John Cook. He, loves Matt Rule. Um, hasn't done too much with the other sports yet, but I love him so far. He's said all the right things. I hope I have high hopes for him.
I've been going to church more often just so I can find more ways to pray on Trev Albert's downfall. I can't stand him, dude.
Hey, everybody's got to find God somehow, buddy.
I mean, I'll
Or
find them all if it means that he gets a. Because here's the thing. Because also A&M, so obviously a huge football stadium, all that money. They just did a huge renovation of their stadium, so they're not going to let him do anything with that. They
no,
just hired a football coach before he got there. What's he doing?
remains to be seen. But Trev's very calculated, so I'm sure there's got to be a method to that madness or a reason why he wanted to go there. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's
Also,
to
is in.
bring Nebraska to the SEC. Who knows? Who knows?
Boy, I don't know. Joining another conference didn't work out too well to start off the last go around. Although I guess that's not fair because I'd much rather be in the Big Ten than just about anywhere else. I'll walk that back. That was a uh, also with Nebraska, 5 Big Ten championships all throughout. Nebraska baseball, outstanding season. How so you guys are much more involved in the Nebraska baseball program. How expected was this season for them? Were they ready to take a jump, or where were they at kind of coming into the season?
I think they were picked fourth in the preseason Big Ten poll. Um, New pitching coach Rob Childress, who was just an analyst last year, that was the head coach at A&M, and Bolt was an assistant under him. Now flipped the roles. Now Rob Childress this year was the pitching coach, and they had the best pitching staff in the Big Ten this year after having about the worst last year. So um, those who follow Nebraska baseball, I think it was a little bit expected. I thought maybe we would make a push for a super regional, but kind of got shafted drawing Florida as our 3 seed there. Um, I just don't think this team was deep enough to make a true Omaha run. But overall, you won the Big Ten, had 40 plus wins. It was a very solid year. Made a regional.
Fun to watch too.
Are they losing a whole lot, or are they
They
gonna be
lose
back next year?
they lose 2 guys for sure. There's a couple guys that could go to the MLB draft, but who knows if they'll do that. I don't know if they're going to be super high picks. That remains, but they do return quite a bit.
And then also just a quick shout out volleyball, of course, won the Big Ten championship, national finalists there. Women's soccer won the Big Ten championship. I think track and field's been outstanding. So good time to be a Husker, that's for sure. I also had some would you rather's that I wanted to pitch to you guys with college football coming around the corner. Just would you rather have this coach or would you rather have that coach? First one that I have up on the docket. Would you rather have as the head football coach of your favorite football team, Dabo Sweeney or James Franklin?
What a suck bag choice that is.
Dabo. He's actually had some success.
I'd go Dabo too.
Even
You
though
don't
he's
think
underrated.
you don't think the sport's getting away from him? He doesn't want to do anything with the
I
transfer
think
portal.
he's a cringy little geezer, but he's at least won something, unlike Franklin.
I mean, James Franklin won. First, he's beaten everybody outside of Michigan and Ohio State.
Hey, is this a would you rather, or are you going to talk me into everybody I decide not to choose?
Well,
What is it?
I'm gonna try to give you whatever it is. I think James Franklin's had a lot of success, and no, he
So it
hasn't
Sure,
won a
sounds
but I
like
national
you'd
wouldn't.
rather have
championship.
James
Take it.
Franklin.
Yeah,
I'm
trying to
just
push
throwing
your
that
fucking
idea out
agenda.
there.
That's all you do around here is push agendas.
I'm just making sure that you guys know who James Franklin is. Is he gonna be the head coach of Penn State next year?
God, I hope so.
Fucking better be.
I'll cry if he's not.
Yeah. Won't get too
Because
deep
you
into
know
that.
who they're fucking coming after.
But actually, let's talk through that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just on like surface level, right? Because you get as Matt Rule does, he got the quarterback, right? Do you risk moving to Penn State to have a guy that's, I mean, looked good against the shitty teams and looked really bad against the good teams? Or do you stick it out?
The only thing that worries me is his alma mater. He is a Northeast guy. I don't know. It's hard to say. He says he's happy here, but that's easy to say while
Yeah.
the Penn State job is taken. So I don't want to find out what he would do. Let's just put it that way.
I'm right there with you. I would just like to point out he hasn't stayed anywhere very long. Now, granted, most of those times because he's getting better jobs, and I don't think Penn State's that much better of a job, if anything. But it's a special thing to be the head coach of your alma mater, and it almost never goes poorly. Almost
Well,
always works out for everybody.
how long has Franklin been there?
For a while.
Yeah, 5, 6 years now,
I was going to say closer to like 10.
probably closer to
Oh,
10.
okay.
He's been there a minute.
So when he left Temple for Baylor, James Franklin was already at Penn State.
I don't think so. He was at Temple in like late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah. So maybe he is mad at Penn State because they didn't pick him over James Franklin.
Maybe. But
That's all I got to hang on right now.
who knows?
So he's been the head coach at Penn State since 2014.
So 10 years, yeah.
So 10 years. Oh boy, yeah, I was off. Let's
Gotcha.
see here. And then Matt Rule got to Baylor in 2017.
Oh wow.
Oh, so he's
Yeah.
at Temple up until 16?
Time is a
Yeah.
construct that I don't understand.
Dude, yeah. We're
It's
getting
like-
old, and time is
Yeah.
like blending together.
Yeah.
Next
if gun in
one.
my head, I would have said, "Oh, Matt Rule was at Baylor like 2009, 2010."
I wouldn't have gone back that far, but it is crazy that since James Franklin's been at Penn State, Matt Rule was at Temple for 2 years, went to Baylor, won a Big 12 championship, went to the NFL, and is now our lovely head coach at Nebraska.
Knight in shining armor.
Knight in shining armor. Would you rather have Kalen DeBoer or Ryan Day?
DeBoer.
DeBoer.
Let's hear it. No, come on. I know you want to push some fucking agenda.
I don't want
I'm-
no born on third base head coach.
You see, and that while the sentiment's very true, he stayed on third base. It's not like he's gotten picked off.
Can't get home though.
That's right.
You're right.
I need a coach that can
neither
score, baby.
has Kalen DeBoer.
He was closer than fucking Day.
Yeah.
No shot. If Ohio State doesn't botch that field goal at midnight against Georgia, they win the national championship. Which
Well,
is way
let's
guess
just
what
put it
the-
like this.
DeBoer didn't. So
DeBoer got to third base on his fucking own, standing in the box, hitting the ball in the gap. Ryan Day was just inserted at third base as a pinch runner for old horny boy.
and that's fair. I can't.
wait. I need horny boy. Let's talk to that. What's going on?
What do you mean?
Because who was it before? The guy that coached Boise State. Is that who it was before?
At Washington?
What?
Yeah, didn't the guy that used to coach Boise State, didn't he go to Washington, or was that like a while ago?
Chris Peterson was at Boise State before, but
What does he have to do with this?
I mean, you guys are definitely talking about the two different teams.
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's okay. Well, then
I'm talking about dick nuts.
Okay.
What?
Urban Meyer.
Yes, God. I kept wanting to say Herb
I
Stevens.
yeah, we're talking about two different teams. My apologies.
I was like, whoa.
Wires got crossed.
Does Ryan Day get any credit for his success at Ohio State? Because
No.
I think, I mean, he has the higher floor. I mean, he hasn't even lost to Purdue. Urban Meyer lost to Purdue all the time.
When you get 4 and 5-star recruits just by wearing the Ohio State logo on your chest, and you don't pump out at least one championship, I don't see what we're getting all up in arms.
I mean, also schools like Miami and Texas A&M also have top 10 recruiting classes. They don't do anything with them.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have C.J. Stroud and the Bosa brothers, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he deserves some credit, but I'm just not buying it.
Quick question.
That's fair because we haven't quite seen the ceiling of Kalen DeBoer yet, so I'm not going to push that hard on it.
Quick question: where did Ohio State's quarterback last year, was it McCord?
Yeah, Kyle McCord.
Where did he end up going?
Syracuse,
bro.
That's right. Yeah.
After you guys tried to sell me that bullshit.
You know what?
That was way before everything shook out. All right.
But even if we don't have Raiola, I don't want a guy whose next best option is fucking Syracuse.
But we didn't know that at the time, okay?
But that's what I was trying to tell you.
Listen, it was a misstep.
You were right.
It was a misstep.
Yeah,
I was excited to get another quarterback.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. That's all I asked.
I said that before. Okay.
But I'll admit I'd do it again. Whoever Nebraska's quarterback is, I would push an agenda.
What do they say in Drumline? One team, one sound, or one band, one sound?
Yeah. Wherever they're going, that's the agenda I'm pushing.
Right.
I pushed Heisman Harburg for a long time.
Yeah, dude, you're pissing us off.
Yeah, the other day you said you were laying out the quarterback room and you said Harburg.
I think we got a good quarterback room.
Yeah, fuck you.
You don't fucking quit talking about him as a quarterback. This podcast is over.
He'll be a great, Wildcat quarterback this year, sure.
I mean, I'm not saying he's the best quarterback. If he's your third best quarterback, I feel like that's a pretty fine room.
Don't make me pull up that picture that I sent you at midnight.
Ugh.
I'm just saying, I'm excited about a quarterback room. That's all I was trying to say. I didn't know I'd get that much pushback on it.
You're being a real son of a gun.
Would you rather have Steve Sarkisian? I can't read my own handwriting.
Sure.
That's tough scenes.
Or Dan Lanning?
Ooh.
Give me Danny Boy.
This is very tough.
They kind of feel like the same coach.
They really do.
I disagree.
Except one's got a drinking problem.
I would lean Lanning because Steve Sarkisian has the self-destruct button just on go at all times. But
which one's the alcoholic?
It's
Steve
Sarkisian.
Sarkisian. He got fired from USC for,
being a drug.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then he had to go to Bama.
Telling you, dude. I don't see colors anymore. I just see blurs at this point, timeline wise.
Dude, that was a while ago when he was at USC and imploded there. That was like
he was
10,
the
12 years
OC,
ago.
right? Or no,
he was the head coach at USC.
Fuck. See,
it was his first big job and fumbled it so hard, so immediately.
Yeah. When you get out to LA, you just want to party, baby.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's done everything right since then. I mean, the whole Nick Saban rehabilitation program.
Yeah.
It really kind of felt like he was going to be the heir at Alabama until the Texas job came knocking.
Yeah, I thought so too. I really did think Saban was going to step down. It was going to be him at Bama. But DeBoer at Bama, talk about striking while the iron's hot for him. Went from where was DeBoer at before Washington? I forget.
Yeah. Oh,
I think an FCS school.
Yeah.
Or Mountain West school, maybe.
I want to say Fresno State.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep, Fresno State from. He was
I
only
know
at Fresno
ball.
State for 2 years.
Yeah, very short lived there.
It's
Yeah,
like,
so Fresno State to having a couple good years quickly at Washington to hustling your way to Bama is crazy.
so in 2019, so before COVID, if that puts any context to it, he was the offensive coordinator at Indiana, and now he's the head football coach at Alabama.
Life comes such fast.
I say it all the time, man. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
Then doesn't that make you a little bit nervous picking him over Ryan Day, who's won a million games?
Dude, will you fucking quit?
You're
That wasn't the question, was it?
He's never gotten to like develop a recruiting class.
yeah, but he has taken other people's recruiting classes and won immediately. Imagine what he's going to do with Alabama's recruiting class.
But yeah, all right. We're throwing that
I
out
mean,
there. A
I
lot
want
of
to.
question marks. It feels like the floor is much lower with him, and we
I'll
just don't
save
know
this
his
for
ceiling
later,
yet.
but I do have one college football take for this upcoming year that I feel strongly about.
Oh god.
It'd be like your Florida State
It
take from
is.
last year.
Yes, it's going to be my new team this year, and you guys are going to hate it.
I can't wait. Last one. Wait, so where do we land on Sark and Lanning?
Lanning.
Lane.
By landslide.
But it is
By a
close.
landing
No,
slide.
no. It's close. Sark is a really good coach. But I would lean Lanning.
And Tyler, when I said that they feel like the same coach to me, where did I go wrong there?
So Sarkisian seems more of a cringe guy, like getting his team pumped up, and it's
That's
just like
true.
really cringy. Lanning
Seems like
gets you
one of
fired
the
up.
boys.
When
Yeah.
Lanning
Yeah.
said they're fighting for clicks and we're fighting for wins, dude, I almost
Yep.
went and bought an Oregon shirt.
And that's where it was. That's where it was. It
That,
turned me to Lanning.
you're right. You're absolutely right. Or is much different. I guess I'm just seeing it from the point of like it feels like they're about to break out, and they just haven't done anything yet. But it feels like they're about to. Last one. Would you rather have Kirby Smart, or would you rather have Bob Stoops as your head coach, Lincoln Riley as your offensive coordinator, and Brett Venables as your defensive coordinator?
Kirby
All right,
Smart.
what team? What team am I coaching? Like, where am I at?
So when I initially pointed this out, you're coaching Oklahoma, but then I was immediately pointed out how much they disdain Lincoln Riley, so they immediately um, went with Kirby Smart. So any team, I guess. Is there a team that you would take one or the other?
Well, in a situation like Georgia, where Kirby's at now, I would take Kirby because that motherfucker can recruit like the Dickens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get a little
But
dick call in there.
yeah, look, I don't know. Anywhere else with those three, you would win a lot of motherfucking football games. So I guess it depends on the situation.
Tyler, what are you thinking?
Kirby Smart.
That's where
Team
my
Kirby
head,
Smart.
that's where my head's at. But those are three really good coaches.
See,
And
I would be
especially
a
when
good
you're
AD because I just fucking go with my gut. Whatever my gut tells me, that's the right answer. I don't
But you
wish
don't know
wars.
ball.
I do know ball, actually.
You do.
It's
so
it's actually eating me alive right now. I'm sorry to cut you off, Brandon, but I need to know who your fucking college football team is here.
yeah,
I need to know.
I'm done with all my would you rather's.
All right.
Lay it on us.
I want you.
Wait, can you not say it and just like really build it up for me? Like
Yeah.
get me pumped up and then
All right.
say it.
I want you, Tyler, and you, Brandon,
Oh God.
to take all the money in your savings account, take out a loan against your houses,
Mhm.
maybe a second life insurance policy with our old friend Tyler here,
Yeah.
and put it all, and I mean every last red cent, to your name.
But don't say it yet. Tell me why before you tell me the team is.
Because wait.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay, yes. Because what I lost my train of thought of who their quarterback was, and I was like, oh shit, am I tripping? No, because of who they brought in the transfer portal
Yeah.
and the good recruits and I
Oh,
know I'm
Tyler's
just
gonna
gonna
fucking hate this.
I know I'm just gonna contradict what I said because he was brought up in the fucking coaching.
Oh, he's gonna tell me Syracuse, I think.
Ohio State is gonna roll through
Oh
college football.
Oh,
They are going
Oh,
to
no.
they are going to motherfuck everyone.
Dude.
And I don't say that lightly. They are going to beat Michigan by 20 plus this year.
I thought you were gonna say Miami.
No.
That's
I
where
do
thought you
like
were gonna
Miami, but Ohio State, I think this may be like a 95 Nebraska run through college football.
Kind of feel a bit let down. They're the betting favorite anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
But
oh, the
I
betting
mean,
favorite's gonna
they are-
win the
they're like
championship.
even money to win it, but like I think they should be like 3 or 4 to 1. Like I don't think there's a team that can compete with them this year. Maybe Georgia, maybe Bama, but like
Nebraska.
even still,
I mean, they got such a great coach. It's hard to argue with.
I mean, they have Will Howard who chose Ohio State over Nebraska, sadly.
I mean, that's fair. That feels fair.
They have the Judkins dude from Ole Miss, reload at wide receiver, the Downs kid from Alabama at DB who they thought was going to win the Heisman at Bama as a cornerback. I think they're going to just roll through everyone. This is the year Ryan Day gets a natty.
The thing is, I want to ride with you so bad on these things, but then you give me teams like Florida State, and then teams like Ohio State.
I don't like it either, but I was right about Florida State, whether you want to admit it or not.
They did not win the national championship,
And they got blown out.
I
in the bowl
mean,
game.
it took an act of God
but they
breaking
did not
his
win the
fucking
national
leg.
championship.
They were
They didn't even make the
undefeated.
playoff.
Fuck you.
They did not make the playoff. That is correct. Actually,
They should have.
They did not.
That's
But-
bullshit.
Well, I mean, if they lost to a team who also didn't make the playoffs, so you got, I mean, sixth best team at best. That's not the kind of
No.
horn you're tooting.
You can't have 40 guys opt out and then say, "Oh, they fucking lost to Georgia."
Well, I mean, you got to
I'm
win
not
to
gonna-
win.
They played
That's
with
part
all
of the
year.
deal.
No.
I'm not going to do that
no.
to you. I'm not going to do that to you. But what I will say is that they
I
did
was
not
right.
make the playoff.
I was
and they did
fucking
not
right.
win the national championship.
I just need you to know, had Jordan Travis not broken his leg, there would be a ring on his fucking finger.
Mhm.
In your heart of hearts, you know it.
But I didn't see it.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, if you want to test fate again, in my ball knowledge, it's going to be Ohio State. Unless Will Howard fucking breaks his leg or gets cancer or what have
What if
you,
he
I
just
don't know.
sucks?
Huh?
What if he just sucks?
No, bro.
Okay. All right. I just thought I'd ask. That's all.
I never picked the chalk. Like Florida State was not the favorite last year.
Yeah, and that's why this feels so different. Is that
But I just want you to know I think it's because I think they're deeper, have more experience and better skill position than everybody else. It's gonna be like Nebraska in the '90s, beating everybody by fucking 30. No.
Well, that just took the wind out of everybody else's sails
Yeah,
here. So
no, I mean you're
thank
probably
you for
right.
in the
I mean
corner
if
for the
I
connection, everybody.
was gonna
It's-
put my 72
not-
cents in my savings account on a team to win the national championship, it would be it would be Ohio State, but it would
It's
return
not a
like
sexy thing, but like it's the fashion in which they're gonna beat everybody. All right, I'll say it like that.
Brandon, take a loan out in your unborn baby's name and put it all on Ohio State. See how that goes.
I mean I got a fresh social security number I can start using.
Yeah. Commit all kinds of fraud.
Put $10,000 down to win $11,000 just with those
Yeah.
chalky odds.
Well,
Because and I'm not gonna. I am pretty disappointed because you were right about Florida State. As much as I like to give you flack for them getting absolutely dick.
That was a
blown
bad
at the-
move. Brandon, that was a bad
no.
move. Real
I'm not gonna sulk.
But like this feels, this doesn't feel anything like that. It feels like the
I'll
Chiefs are
get
going to win
back
the
in
Super
the
Bowl because they
lab.
have Patrick Mahomes.
I'll give you a
repeating.
second option that I like to go deep, but I don't see anybody beating Ohio State this year. I just don't. And I hate to say that because picking the chalk is never fun, but I don't see it.
So this is the first I'm hearing this phrase, pick the chalk. What the hell does that mean?
The chalk is
Picking
like the
favorites.
favorite.
Oh.
Where does the turn? Because I heard that a lot.
I
Like
don't know
March
where.
Madness time, like when you pick like all four seeds or all four one seeds
Yeah.
to make the final four, that's chalk. What does that term come from?
So it's like you're just picking the favorite in every matchup. Like I don't know where it stems from, but like you said, it gets brought up in March Madness. If like people who don't pay attention, they just this team's a higher seed. I'm gonna pick them. It's like I think it means like I don't know. I'm not even like if you just put it into a computer, like the computer's always gonna pick the higher seed for you. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just the easier thing to do. I don't know. We should
Interesting.
Google that.
Who's gonna win the Heisman?
Dylan.
Hmm. Let me look up some odds. I just
Miller Moss feels like a good favorite to me. I don't think they'll give it to him because they're like we can't keep giving Lincoln Riley quarterbacks the Heisman Trophy. But I mean, until he like develops a quarterback who doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, kind of feel like that's a good pick to go with.
Will Howard has great value at plus 1,400 because he's going to win the Natty.
But with Will Howard, I think we've seen so much of him that I think if he does pop off in the way that he probably will, I think most people are going to just chalk that up to Ohio State. Like, oh, well,
Okay,
he's surrounded by all this NFL talent, and Ryan Day is such a genius. I can't believe anybody would pick whoever I had over him. Um, so I don't know if he'll get proper credit.
I'm going to give you three names that I like just off the rip. Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma, Avery Johnson at K-State, or Jalen Daniels at Kansas. Yes, I'm back in on Jalen Daniels at Kansas.
If he fucking plays.
Gosh, dude. If he stays on the field, he has a chance.
I also really like Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I think they're going to pop
Yeah,
off.
he's going to be good. Going to be the star of the show there.
Do you think Jackson Arnold's actually going to be good?
I think so. He looked really good in the bowl game and more confidence as time goes on. I like him a lot.
I'm getting a lot of boom or bust sentiment out of Oklahoma fans. Like he could be like the next Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, or he could be benched, one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe not this year. Maybe this year might be too soon for him, but next year, like 2025, getting his feet wet going through a whole year as a starter. But who knows? He might just be good enough right away. Little Taylor Martinez run there.
So how sure are you that Will Howard's going to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten? Now that he's got
Yeah, I don't know that he'll be the best in the Big Ten. I think he'll win the most games. You obviously have Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, who'll be solid. Who else? He might just by default. Who's Washington got? I don't know yet.
Will Rogers.
That's
Not a
right.
factor.
Nope, absolutely not. Iowa, you never have to worry about having a good quarterback.
Also, the
Dude,
last
he
thing
knows
that
what to put on a show.
kind of forgot about this one. Another part of my favorites, my favorite moment from our offseason is Caden Proctor committing to Iowa, then immediately running back to Alabama, talking about how it was the worst decision he's ever made.
Love that
Mwah.
for him.
Love that.
Chef's kiss.
I had so much fun with it. All right, fellas. Well, we're back. Lots of fun stuff on the way. Any final thoughts?
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red, baby.
Go Big Red.
Oh, also shout out.
Sorry, Tyler. The floor is yours.
Also shout out Nebraska women's basketball, Nebraska women's volleyball. That's it.
We talked about women's volleyball. Shout out to them out.
But not basketball.
That's
True.
true. They had a really good year.
Yeah. That's it. Go Big
All
Red.
right, go Big Red.